from Builder Janie Pendleton. We're back out in the herb garden where we're going to cut some dill. Now you can see my dill is going to seed. You can see here it's going to seed, and we can use the seeds from that and harvest them. But right now I'm going to cut a few snips here of some fresh dill. And this is what we're going to use to make our dill pickles. Okay, so some of the other things that you can pickle, or sweet pickle like I like to say, is you can actually pickle squash and zucchini and add some onions, do the dill. But what I'm going to try this year is I'm actually going to try a little bit of curry. That smells so sweet and so good. That would be perfect inside my sweet pickles. Now when you cut fresh herbs, you want to do this in the morning, and after a rain or after a really dewy morning, that's the best time to cut your herbs. That's when the flavor is the strongest inside the little leaves. So come on, let's head back into the kitchen and let's get started. And we're back in the kitchen where today we are making fresh dill pickles. So come along for the ride and let's get started. Okay, my lids are coming up to a low simmer, then I'll turn them off. You don't want to boil those. My jars have been boiling and my rings have been boiling for probably about 30 minutes now. Okay, in a clean stock pot, stainless steel. Remember, you never want to pickle on anything that's iron or aluminum. Okay? It can cause, the high acid food can cause mercury poisoning or mercury to bleed into your food from the aluminum. So you never want to do that. Okay, here we're going to take this pure reverse osmosis water, and we're going to take 2 cups of water to 1.5 cups of 5% white distilled vinegar. That's my solution right there. Now, depending on how many pickles that we're canning up, depends on how many times I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this twice. So here's 2 more cups of water. And here's another 1.5 cups of 5% vinegar right there. Okay, nice thing about this recipe is you can adjust it for however many pickles you've got. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn up the heat and we're going to bring this to a boil. You want to be sure and use pickling salt for this recipe, and I'm going to use anywhere between 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup. Now I did a double batch here, so, and that's a lot of salt. I'm not going to do quite the 1/2 cup. I just don't find that to be that necessary. Okay, we're going to give that a stir. Now to this, I'm going to add about 4 dashes of celery salt. This pickling spice is usually made for more of a sweet pickle brine, but I like it, so I'm going to add just a couple. Just a couple in there, not that much. Just enough to add a little bit of flavor to my brine. If you have it, use your red peppers from your garden. Here I'm just going to add, I don't like mine very hot, so I'm just going to add a few shakes of the peppers, not much. I don't like it that hot. And that's it. You can add some whole peppercorns to this as well. You can even add some mustard seed if you like. That's fine. This, the pickling brine stuff there, the pickling spices, it had the mustard seed in it. And you can even use the powdered version, the powdered mustard, but I didn't want to fog up my my liquid. Okay, so now we're just going to simmer this for about 2 or 3 minutes until that salt is nice and dissolved in here, and we will be right back. Now I've taken boiling water and I've soaked my pickles in boiling water overnight, and now we're just going to drain these really well and give them a good rinse. Now what I like to do is I like to put my fresh dill in the bottom of the jar with a 1/2 of a piece. Since I'm doing 1/2 pints, I'm only going to do a 1/2 of a piece of garlic, whole clove garlic in here. This smells so good. Just break them, pinch them off. I did wash my dill first. So now you can see here that we've filled this up with the dill. And inside I threw 1 or 2 garlics, depending on the size. These are just half pints, so 1 is plenty. If you're going to do pints, maybe do 2 medium to large pieces of garlic. And I'm just going to finish throwing this in here. There you go. Now, I'm going to took some of my rinsed pickles here, and I'm just going to stack them here in the jars. Now the half pints won't hold as many, but these do make great gifts, and it's just my husband and I, and my kids are off at college in different places. They just don't eat that many at once, and these make nice gifts to do this size. Oop, there's an end. Remember, when you're cutting your pickles, you want to be sure and remove the flour end, because that can make your food taste bitter, can make your pickles taste bitter. So we're just filling the jars pretty tight. You know, they didn't start chirping until I started talking here on camera. Isn't that the way it goes? I've had some people leave me some pretty nasty comments about my birds, but I want you to know that one of my birds did die, and they've been in mourning. My female bird's in mourning. She's really, really upset about it. I'm really upset about it, so I want to make these nice and even. See that? We just kind of stack them up in here. You don't want to stack them too tight because you want to get those air bubbles out. We're just going to use some clean napkins here. Okay, so we're going to give our brine a stir. Now I want to tell you that I did add a teaspoon of sugar to my brine, and you can also add a little bit of apple cider vinegar if you want to replace some of the white vinegar with some of the apple cider vinegar. That's fine too. I just like a clearer liquid in mine. So we're going to give that a stir so I can get some of those seeds and stuff in there. I'm not even going to worry about using a funnel because I'm going to wipe the lids anyway. There we go. We're just going to fill those up. We're going to give ourselves about 1/4 of an inch headspace. That's what I like about this ladle. It's just about debubble. Let's set this out of the way here so you can see a little better. Now we're just going to debubble these. See, there's a bubble right there. It's very important to debubble. Making sure that the dill stays on the bottom. Now, instead of pickling crisp, you can actually pack a grape leaf. Just go out to your grapevine, wash a grape leaf really well, and put a grape leaf on the very bottom of your jar. Now I'm just going to be adding some of this pickling crisp, just a little bit. These are half pints. You don't need very much, just a few. It does keep them crisp. That was about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Okay, so I got them all debubbled really well, and I'm kind of getting that pickle crisp down in there now. Like I said, this just makes for nice gifts, and if you want to, you can kind of balance these out just a little bit better. It's got a little bit too much in there. Now I'm going to check all my heights and sizes here. This right here needs a little more. I think one batch of that solution would have been enough. Check. Need a little more. Now we're just going to take a clean napkin, dip it down inside the sterile water here, and we're just going to wipe off those rims really well. A seed, a piece of spice, anything, a little bit of sugar, whatever you put in this, it can keep this from sealing. And never double dip your napkins. Check for any cracks or breaks on the jar at this point. I like to dip my finger into the water and just fill, just like that. That helps give it a nice tight seal as well. Just that little bit of water on the lid. You want to make sure that no pickles are sticking up where they will be touching the lid. Oops, right here's a seed. See that? There we go. Now we're going to take our lids. Place them on. Check each one. Make sure that they're all okay. And they all have that rubber ring on here. Goes all the way around. And always do extras just in case. Adjust the lid and finger tight just until it starts to give. I'll show you that one more time right there. Make sure that's on there. Delicious. Alright, let's see this. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Just beautiful. Now I'm going to take these over and I'm going to put these into the water bath canner. One more look at those. Aren't those beautiful? Sit them down here inside of a rack. Remember to put a rack in the bottom of your canner. That's very, very important. We're going to crank our heat up here and get this to boiling again. And these are half pints, so I'm going to boil these between 8 and 10 minutes. If they were pints, I would boil them between 10 and 12. And if they were pint and a halves, you know, the tall, skinny, new ball jar pint and a halves, I would go for about 15 minutes on those. And if they were quarts, I would go for between 15 and 20. You never want to over-process pickles, but you also don't want to under-process food either. I always go the maximum amount. So I will be processing these for 10 minutes. And processing doesn't start until you got a really nice rolling boil on this. We'll be right back after we've processed these in a boiling water bath. That's when the boiling starts, really hard boiling. That's when you want to start your time. We're just going to put our lid on here. And we will be back when this is done processing at 10 minutes. Okay, that's the type of boil you want. Put the lid on. Set your timer for 10 minutes. And walk away. Okay, don't really walk away, I was just teasing. But keep your eye on it, make sure this doesn't get to boiling too hard. You don't want your glass jars floating around, especially since these are just half pints. And we will be right back. I hope you've enjoyed coming along for the ride as we made our dill pickles. These are absolutely beautiful. See that with the dill in the bottom? And remember, you can just go out to your grapevines and just lay a grape leaf on the bottom and omit the pickle crisp. It does basically the same thing but organically. Now I want to talk about pickle crisp for just a minute. People say it's the same thing that's in sodium chloride that's in Pool Shock. That's true, but I also put baking soda in my swimming pool as well to adjust the pH level. I mean, it's a natural product that's used to raise and lower pH levels in the pool. And so don't be scared. If somebody says it's Pool Shock, don't be scared, because that's not a bad thing. It's just using nature to adjust water freshness and water sources. But go and Google search it. Don't listen to me on this. I am a professional canner. I am a certified canner. But if you want to learn more about canning, just don't listen to just anybody on the internet. Go out there and do your homework and listen to the professionals. But somebody like me, I've been canning for 31 years now, and I go off the beaten path. If you're not comfortable with that, stick with the rules. Stick with the basics. If you're scared of canning, don't be. Just follow the processes that I've set before you here, or the Blue Ball canning jar book, canning book. Follow the directions until you get used to it and you know your times for meat, vegetables, high acidic foods, low acidic foods. Just read it from cover to cover several times and you'll learn how to can. It's really not that difficult, and it's very, very enjoyable. Here are my sweet pickled squash. Here are my Indian sweet pickles. Here's my regular sweet pickles. I've got a little bit of squash in there as well that fell in there. That's fine. It all gets processed at the same time. Here are some pickled sweet pickle spears. My son gave me some pickles out of his garden. And here's another thing of sweet pickle spears here. And here's some more pickled zucchini. And some more pickled zucchini. So I mean, I have, or excuse me, that's squash. This is a little mix of everything in here. It all gets processed for the same amount of time. And like I said, the fresh dill, a clove of garlic, some sprinkles of some red peppers, not too spicy, some vinegar and water mixture, and you've got yourself some delicious dill pickles. This is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. Be sure and subscribe. Blessings.